Hello guys, welcome to my channel MMA Talk the Talk Walk the Walk. Subscribe the channel for more fight breakdowns. What really happened on UFC 262? Michael Chandler vs Charles Oliveira.
We all know the jab is the boxer's most foundational weapon. It does almost everything, and everything it doesn't do it helps to set up. But if we had to pick which punch really embodies what it means to box, I might select the humble left hook instead. Boxing, including the boxing we see in MMA, is a curious combination of scientific craft and brute animal violence. At one end of the spectrum is the jab, flexible, nuanced, and relatively unlikely to put your lights out. At the other, we'd probably all agree, is the right hand, the favored, and indeed only, punch of barroom brawlers. And right smack in the middle is the humble left hook. It's subtle. It's brutal. And often both at once. If the jab is the perfect setup, then the hook is the ideal companion. But the jab initiates, the hook punctuates. This makes a fighter's left hook an excellent barometer of his overall boxing skill. Anyone can flash a jab and come crashing in after it with a big right hand, but what happens next? Your average barroom brawler doesn't throw left hooks, because the opening for the hook often doesn't reveal itself until after the initial clash. Seeing and exploiting the opening requires clear eyes and a cool head, that is, at least, if you mean to avoid falling over your own feet and getting yourself kinged in that process. 2, 3, even 4 layers deep into an exchange, that is where the left hook thrives. And fighting in layers is the true mark of a consummate combat craftsman. Last Saturday, at UFC 262, Charles Oliveira secured the UFC lightweight title. After nearly 11 years and an astounding 28 fights under the UFC banner, Oliveira delivered one of the most cathartic KOs I have ever seen, and he did it with one hell of a mean left hook. So let's cut the preamble and break it down.
Michael Chandler does not close distance so much as he slams it shut. Sometimes subtlety is the trade-off for athleticism, and Chandler is among the most explosive athletes in the sport. Chandler's attacks almost always come on straight lines. We saw him pay for this in 2019, when Chandler dashed forward only to find Patricio Pitbull's right hand waiting for him. But doing this requires skill, speed, and brass balls. It is no accident that Pitbull is the only man to ever beat Chandler in a straightforward collision. If Chandler is taking a risk crashing into the pocket, then so is the man who chooses to meet him head-on. But what happens after the explosion? Chandler may hit like an 18-wheeler, but he handles about as well as one too. Take a look at the sequence from the first 10 seconds of the fight. 1. Oliveira advances behind a tie check. Chandler, sensing that Oliveira's ability to retreat is compromised, plants his feet and prepares to lunge in. 2. Chandler comes in hard behind the jab. 3. And then the right hand, slinging it hard to Oliveira's body. 4. His attack complete, Chandler hops straight back out of range. Exploding forward is risky, but as Chandler's career shows, it's hardly a foolish gamble. In fact, Chandler does a good job of mitigating the risks inherent, leading with his jab and changing levels as he attacks. Retreating on the same line, however, is never a good idea. A fighter who attacks on one angle should always retreat on a different one. And that's far from the only mistake on which Oliveira was able to capitalize. So what is so wrong with this retreat? 4. 1. Chandler does a poor job of recovering his guard after punching. Look back at frame 4 of our first example and note how Chandler's right hand drifts down to his chest as he pulls it back. A hand beside the chin is hardly the end-all be-all of striking defense, but it wouldn't have hurt. Then there is the technique of the footwork. Note that Chandler's retreat is not a step, but a hop. For a moment both feet leave the ground at once. Hopping is certainly a quicker way of creating space than a simple step, but the trade-off is the prospect of eating a punch with absolutely no base to dissipate the force of the impact. A truck with no shocks is going to feel every bump in the road. But by far the worst part of Chandler's retreat is its predictability. Had he reset by stepping or pivoting to one side or the other, Oliveira may still have caught him at the end of his reach, but he would have at least had to adjust his position first. That split second of adjustment could have been all Chandler needed to earn himself another chance, and who knows? Given the way the first round ended, one more chance may have been enough to win. The way it was, all Oliveira had to do to anticipate the position of Chandler's retreating chin was survive the initial exchange. He did, and this is what happened.